All good. It's muted on mine.
Oh, yeah, I think yours is muted. Go for, let me see here. Go ahead and unmute yours. Or is yours unmuted? Can everybody hear Bryce?
Mine isn't muted, but all it is.
Yes, that's perfect. That's exactly what's supposed to happen.
Bryce is a little quiet. I'll go ahead and say that. He's a little.
Oh,
Can you
speak up a little bit? Or?
Speak up, someone. Can you hear me now?
Yeah, that's better.
Okay, I'll just talk about it. I got you, my guy.
Okay, well let's get it started then. Go ahead and raise your hand if you have a question for Bryce. Actually, you prefer to go by a different name, don't you?
It's Will.
You like to go by Will?
Yes, sir. But it's okay, either man.
Okay. Well, we'll start it off with the newest father of the group, Jacob Unruh, from the Oklahoman. Go for it, Jacob.
Well, Will, I was going to call you Bryce, but I'll call you Will, so that's what you prefer. Thanks for speaking with us. Can you kind of walk us through the transfer process and what led you to that, and what led you to Oklahoma State?
Well, I actually visited here before I visited Ole Miss, before last year. So when I got here, Eric Pastrana, coach, he was here. He coached me in JUCO. So I just thought it'd be a real nice move if I didn't want to stay at Ole Miss. So when I got to Ole Miss, I never really got into college basketball until I got into college basketball. So I didn't know the SEC, the Big 12. I didn't know that because I started basketball in ninth grade, and I had to catch up. So when when Ole Miss showed me their campus and everything, I never seen nothing like that. So I just fell in love with the place, and I just committed, not knowing what was going on. So during the season, before the season, I'm thinking I'm going to get a lot of minutes. And my coach was over there now, Colonel Davis. He didn't. Well, he had me on a short leash, I would say. When I make mistakes, I get out the game quickly and things like that. So after the season, God gave me a chance still to still come to OSU. So I just made the decision instead of wasting another year.
You said you didn't get into college basketball until you got there. What was the realization of the differences for you? What did you realize was how that's a whole different ballgame?
What you talk about, like D1 or JUCO?
Yeah, either. I mean, you don't know much about it, you say, and then you get in there and it's going to be totally different than you expect.
Right. When I started ninth grade, my pops told me I was really behind because all these boys started when they were like 5, 6. So in high school, I couldn't get into my gym. My coach wouldn't let me in my gym sometimes. So I had to sneak into an elementary school outside and work outside with my dad. We'd be on the outside courts every day. So that's how I caught up with everybody else. And I say JUCO wasn't that hard for me. My dad was my only coach that ever taught me basketball, so he got me on the mental level. So JUCO wasn't that hard. When I got to Ole Miss, it was kind of difficult, and not being known like some guys are. It's very hard to start above those who are known. To the coaches. So and then when I got here, it's just smooth. Right now, it's smooth. I'm fitting into the offense and all. It's not hard at all right now.
I was going to ask what your experience has been like here now that you've kind of established yourself a little bit more at the college level.
I love it here. It's at Ole Miss. I used to dread. I'll tell you, I used to dread practice. Like before practice, I'm in my locker room, like literally. But now I'm ready for practice. Like it's a family culture. It's fun.
Awesome. Thanks, Will.
Yes, sir.
Jenny Carlson, go for it.
Hey, Will, how are you?
Good, how you doing?
Good. Those outside courts, you should be thankful you were living in Tampa. Otherwise, that'd have been a little chilly.
Right, very much.
Hey, You were just saying how much of a change practice is, and obviously that's the focus right now you guys have had. Can you kind of not just for you, but for this whole team, the collection of talent that you guys have, what's sort of the vibe right now? Can you take us inside what practices are like on a daily basis for you guys?
I'll say before we even get on the court, they have a board outside our locker room, and we have a quote at the top every day that everyone has to read, and we have teams. They put us on different teams every day. So before practice, we're in the locker room like, I'm going at you today, or I'm going to win today, and stuff like that. And then when we get on the court, we know our teams already. So it's like when we go on the court, it's either a black jersey or you flip it inside it's a white jersey. So when we get on the court, if I got on black and you got on white, I'm not even talking to you right now. We're all just in our zone right now. And I think that's gonna help us a long way because we're very young. We have two seniors, which is me and Darren. So everybody else is young. And with Coach helping, I think we'll surprise a lot of people. And practices, we argue a lot, like about the fight, but when we get off the court, we're back brothers. That's really it, though.
Tell me about these quotes. Does it set the tone for what you guys are going to focus on in practice every day? What about that?
It's like quotes like it might come from Muhammad Ali or Mike Tyson. It's from famous people. Like I think today's was. I don't even want to do my quote there. Today's was. I forgot, but I'm gonna tell you one that I do remember. I don't remember none of them, I'm sorry. But I'm gonna tell you one I do remember. It's if you, I don't even remember. I'm sorry.
I'm busting you with Coach Boynton when he's on later.
No,
I'm not gonna do that. I'm not gonna do that. That competitiveness in practice and that energy in practice. You guys obviously know that. Like whenever games are happening, it's not going to be a packed house because it can't be a packed house with COVID. Like, is that kind of a downer? Or, I mean, because I think a lot of people are really excited to see you guys this year, but how do you sort of process the excitement and the energy of practice you're feeling right now with knowing that the season is going to be so different?
It is a downer because the more packed the house is, we're gonna have a lot of energy. You know, it's like we feed off of you guys, and you guys feed off of us. So it's like we kind of need you guys there. But since we've been practicing, Coach Boynton has made us bring our own energy. Like work on bringing our own energy for each other. Like if somebody dies on the floor, we're all going to go get him. We're all cheering for him. Even if he's on the other team, we're gonna go get him. And then when he get up, you can be mad at him again. After that, it's just a family thing.
Do you think the division of you guys into teams is part of that trying to create your own energy thing?
What do you mean by that?
You mentioned that you guys are on different teams every day, and it is. Do you think that that's one of those things that Coach has been trying to emphasize, that no matter who you're on the court with, like you got to bring that energy?
Yes, ma'am. And before practice, if we don't come out clapping or good job, Will, good job, Ice, he might start practice over or he might start drill over. He's just gonna let us know. Or if practice was an hour, we don't bring the energy. Practice gonna be 2 hours. So it's just like that. Yes, ma'am.
Cool. Thanks, Will.
You're welcome.
Yeah, that was Trey Reeves' job the last few years, those quotes. So clearly he's not going to be the quote man this year. Just clear as day. But next question from Frank Bonner. Go for it, Frank.
Hey, Will, how's it going?
What's up, my guy?
You talked about how you didn't start basketball till 9th grade. What got you into basketball?
Really, I was a great football player. I played quarterback, but I just thought those guys are too big. I hate the cold. I hate the heat, you know. So I just stayed on the basketball court. And then my dad made me choose a sport, 11th grade. Basketball, I just did it because all my cousins did it. That's why I wanted to know that. So it's just for fun thing. I never loved it, never did none of that, never took it serious. I just went in there and used my God's good talent. So I say my 11th grade, my dad made me choose basketball, and I was very frustrated with that. But like I said, we went to the elementary school, practiced every day outside, and he helped me become where I am today.
When you started, what was the biggest learning curve for you, you know, being behind all those players who had been playing since they were younger?
Everything was challenging, man. I was dribbling with my right hand going left. That's how bad it was. Like, I'm dribbling with my right hand going left. People trying to, it's just crazy, bro. The ball never touched my left hand unless I'm passing it with two hands. Like, I was horrible. Yeah.
When did that switch happen for you, where you started taking it serious? You could see yourself, you know, becoming better.
I say 11th grade. 11th grade. Like my freshman year, we had about 15 people in the stands. My senior year, I had it full. So I worked them 4 years for sure. Yeah.
Looking at where you started, you know, not even being able to go to your left to where you are now, you know, playing college ball. Have you surprised yourself a bit?
Bro, I'm beyond surprised, bro. Blessed. It's different, bro. Like, I wish I could see what my dad had to go through. Like, my dad literally, bro, we had to jump the gate to get through the elementary school first off. My dad not little. It's funny. Like, we just had to go through a lot to catch up, and it's paying off right now. So I'm blessed.
I appreciate you, Will.
Yes, sir. Appreciate you, man.
Next question, Mark Scott for Marshall.
Thanks for taking the time.
Oh,
What's some differences in Coach Pastrana now versus Coach Pastrana when you were at JUCO?
I said he just walked by. Go ahead, bro. I say in JUCO, I'm not sure if, let me see. I say in JUCO he was a little more laid back. I don't know if it was his first time coaching or what, but to me, he was laid back. He seen my potential because at the beginning of the season in JUCO, I wasn't starting or nothing. At the end, I took all the sophomore starters because I was a freshman and we had sophomore, so I was able to start at the end of the season. And then while I was at Ole Miss, me and Pastrana still had a connection. He still called me, texted me. When we played them, I wanted to switch teams bad in New York. I know you remember that. And then here, he's still laid back. He's still the same guy, but he's on a mission, and you can tell he's on a mission to get this Big 12 championship.
Another thing I had written down here was that Ole Miss OSU game. What was that like being on the other side of that last year?
It was very funny, man. It made me mad, but it was very funny, man. I didn't take it no type of way.
Did that help your decision making to come to Oklahoma State that much easier, that you could see what they were capable of?
Yes, a lot. Very.
Gotcha.
I think the score was what? We lost about 40?
Yeah, 40 something. Yeah, it was bad.
Yeah,
I think it was the worst loss in school history.
I don't even want to speak on it, man.
All right, thanks, man.
You're welcome, man. Yes, sir.
Next up, Danielle Dwyer. Go ahead, Danielle.
Hey, Will, good to see you. I wanted to ask you about just Coach Boynton and how he's really helped you develop, what kind of role model he's been since you got here, because obviously you were, that was a big reason why you came here, I would imagine, and just that relationship with him. And what's that been like so far for you, experiencing now being coached by him every day?
I'd say I never had a coach who cared as much as him, probably. Like, my coaches in high school and JUCO, with my guys given talent, I got a lot of ease. Like, they didn't push me, like they said it's okay and things like that. So when a coach did get on me, like at Ole Miss, I would freak out because I never been pushed before, But when I got here to Oklahoma State, it's not like a push. It's just like a family vibe. It's just like I want the best for you. Like he's called my dad. Me and him sat down in the office, called my dad plenty of times to have real genuine conversations. Nothing about basketball. Just as me as a person. Because people go through things in life. Like I've had a lot of things over in the past couple months. He's just been there. And then at the same time, he's being the best coach he could be. So I can't ask for nothing less or more.
Is there any specific area of your game that you feel you've grown even more so now being in Stillwater?
I'd say last year, my confidence broke last year. Like when my coach wasn't paying me, I was really broken, like ready to leave the game of basketball. So now he's just helping me find myself again. There's really nothing they're helping me on or nothing like that. They're just helping me get back in the groove, really, I would say. Yes,
You mentioned just how you and Farron are kind of, the two older guys on this young team. When you look at a guy, we've been able to talk with Coach Boynton about this and some of the other guys, but when you look at a guy like D. Mitchell and what he's doing, he's working, he's going to school, he's making it work.
Yes, ma'am.
What kind of emotions or what kind of pride do you take in having a teammate like that?
It's like you can't explain it. I just know whenever he needs something, I'm gonna be there for him. Whenever he wants something, I'm gonna try to get that for him. And I can't ask him to do more than what he's doing already. It's like whatever you need, bro. I got you, bro. That's just it. Love, other love. That's it. Yes, ma'am.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
And I'm sorry, after Chris goes here, I've got to send Mr. Williams, or Will, excuse me, to a yoga session. So this is going to be the last one, unfortunately.
Hey, Will, how you doing?
Go ahead, Chris.
Will, how you doing?
What's up, my guy?
So I want to ask you about Matthew Alexander. What have you seen him? How have you seen him grow since he got to campus?
I would say first day I got here, guys with a lot of clout, you just think they're gonna be arrogant and things like that. But my guy, he's real humble. Family is love thing over here. I would say first time I seen him, there's nothing really changed. He's him. He plays like him. He's gonna get to the cup. He's gonna dish the ball. He's gonna play defense, protect the rim, rebound. So I just say, as long as he keeps his motor up, he's gonna be great. Like there's nothing holding him back at all, to me, in my opinion.
Awesome, thank you.
Yes, sir. You're welcome, bro.
All right, stay tuned. We will switch chairs real quick and bring on Matthew Alexander Moncrief. Give us just a second. All right, ladies and gentlemen, the one and only Matthew Alexander Moncrief in the house with us here. And it looks like we've got Jacob Unruh with his hand up. Jacob, we will let you get us started with the first question.
Hey, Matthew Alexander, how's it going?
Doing good. How you doing?
Good. Talk to you kind of face to face. We talked on the phone, so it's good to get a little face to face with you finally. And when we talked in the spring, you're getting ready to get here, and you went and worked out with Cade and Ice, and I feel like you've grown the last few months. Hey, it's Barry. How do you feel like you've grown?
Really, just from knowledge of the game, I feel like before, obviously my strengths getting to the rim, getting down here. I feel like I've grown as a passer since I've been here, just knowing where help's coming from, where my shooters are, guys like just knowing where like Farron is on the court, where Keelan is on the court, where Rondell is, where I can get them their shots. I feel like that's probably the area I've grown the most. And just probably defensively, just really being committed to being a great defender. That's rebounding, that's on ball, that's off ball, that's everything really. Just playing with a high motor. I feel like them two areas I've grown the most, just from knowledge of the game and defending. Just playing with high level players. I'm getting better every day. So.
Can you kind of walk us through what the workouts were like with Cade and Ice, like during the shutdown?
You talking about back in Arlington?
Yeah. What were those like?
Shoot. So a day we would wake up, we would go to the gym, we shoot a lot. That's all. Cause K before we got there, that's all K was doing was just shooting. So we probably go to the gym, shoot for about an hour and a half. Where I work on some touch around the rim, work on some ball handling. We go home, eat, chill, whatever, and then later on in the afternoon, we probably go play against some pros or whatever. Because during that time, all the pros were in Dallas, so we probably go play against a lot of them. And then we get better. For me, it was really educational, just learning from all those high level players. They teach me a lot about the game, how I can use my body, how I can get guys open, like you said. So it was just really educational. But that was probably what the day looked like for us.
How good was it for you to get that relationship with Cade too?
It was big time. It was big time. Like, so now, like when we hear, I already know kind of what he thinking. I ain't even got to say nothing to me. I already know what's going through his head. So it's just easier. Like I know where he wants the ball. I know when to just get out of his way and let him play. I know he knows where I like the ball. So it just made it a lot easier.
Awesome, thanks.
Next question is going to come from Chris Becker. Go for it, Chris.
Hey, Matthew. How you doing?
I'm doing good.
All right, I want to ask you about your transition from Canada to Stillwater. What's been the biggest difference between the two?
I'd probably say like where I'm from, school too was a small city like Stillwater, but where I'm from Toronto, so it's a big city, a lot's going on and all that. I'm on campus, so campus isn't just quiet for the most part, but I say Stillwater as a whole and Oklahoma as a whole has a more country feel to it. So probably just that, like not in the big city always. And I'll probably say really that because where I went to school, it was kind of just locked away from everything. That's kind of like how it is here. I can be locked away or I could be wherever. So I kind of like that feeling, just being locked away and being able to focus on your craft. What's important.
Yeah, and who out of the team has helped you the most in that transition from the adjustment difference?
Who on the team helped me the most? I'll probably say everyone. Everyone just made me feel at home. Really, it was just one guy. The whole team just made me feel at home. Really.
Awesome, thank you.
Yes, sir.
Next question from Jenny Carlson. Go for it, Jenny.
Matthew Alexander, how are you?
I'm doing good. How are you?
I'm good. Can I ask, is Matthew okay, or do you prefer like?
You can call me MA. Really. That's what everybody calls me, MA. But
I'm good with that. I'm good with that. I'm good with going the whole thing if you want. I'll even throw in your last name if that's something you want.
That's only for my mom.
Okay. Mine too. What's that all about? So I wanted to ask you a little bit about just the energy in practice. We were just talking about that before. What have you sensed as you guys have gotten together as a team, and just take us inside practice a little bit with these guys?
Sure. Like you said, energy is really the biggest thing for us. I feel like, whichever team's bringing the energy, 9 times out of 10, that's the team that's going to have the better year. That's the team that's going to win. So energy is huge with us, and it's so fun playing with these guys. It's so fun playing with Karen. I know if I get him the ball and he's open, it's going in 9 times out of 10. It's so fun playing with Cade. If I know I'm open, he's throwing it to me. So it's just fun. It's a lot of good energy in practice.
Do you feel like Coach has been preaching on that? I mean, I know you guys are excited about this collection of players, but is that something that you feel like has even been preached to you guys in a way that, they want you to take that to even a higher level in practice?
Sorry, what do you mean?
Just the energy and sort of creating that. Do you? I know it sounds like you guys divide up into different teams, and that competition, that sort of thing. Do you feel like that's something they're really mindful of trying to create?
No, I feel like that's besides like the specifics of practice. I feel like that's the most first priority for us is just having great energy, because I feel like we feed off of that, and it's a snowball effect. People start hitting shots, people start making layups, people start hitting, and it's just a snowball effect when we have great energy. So I feel like that's our first priority in practice.
Do you feel like that's something that, and maybe the coaches have said this, do you feel like that's something that is even more important considering the fan? I mean, it's going to be a reduced capacity fan-wise wherever you guys are. Is that something they've talked about being even heightened importance?
For sure, for sure. Just having great bench energy, whoever's on the bench, just making noise. Energy's gonna be huge for us no matter where we play. We're gonna have to be together. We're gonna have to boost each other up whenever things are going tough. Whenever we're doing great, we're gonna have to just boost each other up. So energy's gonna be huge.
Is it kind of a bummer to think it's not going to be packed houses for you guys?
Yeah, it is.
You can be honest. It's okay. Thanks so much.
Next question coming from Marshall Scott. Go for it, Marshall.
Hey, May. Thanks for taking the time.
How you doing?
I just wanted to talk a little bit about your recruiting process because it seemed whenever you and OSU kind of started like clicking, it all kind of happened fast. What were your first interactions with Mike like, and just kind of take us through your recruiting process?
For sure. I'd probably say I didn't get in contact with this coaching staff. This was probably one of the latest schools because my recruiting process went a little later. I'd probably say we first got in contact maybe September, just right around when the season started. And then it was just an instant fit because they already told me what they had needed from a personnel standpoint, what I could come in and do with the seniors they had leaving. So it was just a perfect fit. And I already played with a lot of the guys coming in from this class, so it was just a perfect fit. Yeah, that's pretty much it.
Whenever you took your visit here, what was that like? Because that's obviously like a long plane ride journey just to come.
And it was great. I had brought my assistant, Coach Rohan, my parents had came down. My parents had loved it. My assistant coach, he had known a lot of the coaches on their staff because he used to play at Oral Roberts, so he was close with a lot of the coaches here. So it was just a great visit overall. They had played Kansas when I came, I believe. Overall, it was just a great visit. I had a great time. Coaches, they told me a lot. It was educational, and they just kept it real with me.
Okay. I think that I've read somewhere, but I've never got this confirmed. Are you cousins with SGA?
That's been what everybody say that. Them two are my close friends, Shay and Nikhil. Everyone thinks we're cousins because we both got that Alexander, but nah, I'm not related to them.
Okay, so that's just internet rumors.
Yeah, that's everybody. But nah, they my friends, bro.
Is that with being close friends? Is that kind of cool that you guys are in the same area?
Sure. And even my Lugans played with me in high school, so Lugans is on the Thunder, so it just makes a lot of it real cool.
Gotcha. And then one last thing, did it help to come here? You've seen, obviously, it's a different sport, but you've seen guys like Chuba Hubbard, Amon, guys from Canada be able to be successful here at Oklahoma State?
For sure. It's definitely cool having a lot of Canadians doing successful things up here.
Have you had a chance to meet those guys yet?
I met with Chuba on my visit. That was the first time I met him, and it's just, we both busy, so we don't really just got time to chill with each other. But here and there, we'll just set it up.
Gotcha. Thanks, Emma.
Yes, sir.
The next question comes from Jimmy Gillespie. Go for it, Jimmy.
Hey, how's it going?
I'm doing good. How are you?
Good. Hey, Coach Boynton's always talked about, for freshmen coming in, one of the hardest things is learning defense and giving defensive effort the whole game.
Sure.
How have you seen yourself transition and putting a more focus on defense?
For sure. I say I feel like something I'm just naturally good at is having a high motor. Something I was really bad at first couple of weeks was just staying engaged the whole defensive possession. I felt like once I was done grabbing the ball, like my job was done. So I feel like in the last couple of weeks, just staying engaged while I'm off the ball, while I'm in help, just talking the whole possession out. That's where I really grown. And you feel me? It's a process. I'm not going to be perfect every day, but I feel like I made great strides towards it. So for sure, I definitely made some great strides.
And on that same note, you talked about this year, especially defensive rebounding is a focus. So how do you see yourself fitting in there and trying to make sure you guys get rebounds on the defensive end when maybe the teams that have been in the past?
Yeah, no, that's one of the focal points in our practices, just boxing out and rebounding. It's obvious we're not an overly huge team, so we're going to have to emphasize boxing out, just the bigger teams and whatever teams we play, boxing out's going to be huge for us because since we're so good in transition, we're going to have to defensive rebound and get out of round. So boxing out's one of our main focal points.
All right. Thanks, M.A.
Yes, sir.
And next question from Frank Bonner. Go for it, Frank.
Hey, man, how's it going?
How you doing?
I'm doing well. Appreciate you. How's the relationship with some of the older guys have been? With the sophomores and Isaac and so on.
No, it's I've been here. I was just saying, I've been here 5 months. It's probably my favorite team I've ever been on by far. We got so much personalities in the locker room. We got funny guys. Everyone's funny in their own different way, but it's cool getting along with everybody. Ice is a leader. I feel like Ice is the leader of the group. Ice gonna hold you accountable no matter what. He holds me accountable, but we just a great group of guys. I feel like everybody likes hanging out with each other. It's fun. Hey, it sounds cliche, but we just with each other all day.
And what type of relationship do you have with Caleb?
Caleb Boone, Caleb, that's my dog. Caleb's my dog. We after practice, he's someone I could just hang out with, talk the whole night with. For real, we got a lot of stuff in common, so it's just easy getting along with Caleb and Keelan. So
appreciate you.
Yes, sir.
And we got a follow up from Jacob Unruh. Go for it, Jacob.
Yeah, man, you were talking about ice a little bit there. I'm curious, when the NCAA sanctions came down and there was kind of concern about people leaving or whatnot. I kind of understand he was a little bit of the ringleader getting people together. How big was he in that process to make sure the roster stayed intact?
He was big. I was in contact with him every day, but I would say he kept it intact. It wasn't like nothing he was forcing. He just said, "Hey, bro, I love you. You already know this is a place kind of to be." This, that, and the third. He was like, "You a man, make your own decisions," type stuff. So he wasn't really forceful with it. He was in contact. We just all knew this felt like home. So it wasn't really no decision to be made. I just didn't really have but for sure, he was in contact. That just kind of made it easier having that relationship and being on the phone with him. But it was kind of our decision. It just felt like home. So.
Yeah, and I know you were with Cade when the news happened too. What was your guys' reaction together?
So he got off the phone. Coach Mike put his phone down, just looked at me and dropped his jaw and said, they just hit us with a bam, bro, this, that, and third. And that was pretty much our first reaction. We were like, what, bro? That's crazy. That was our first reaction.
Do you guys have more of a chip on your shoulder this season, you think, than you normally would?
Definitely. Most definitely.
Thanks, M.A.
But the question I have is, how did that start? With you going down to Texas, did you reach out to Kay? Did he reach out to you? How did you guys get that go? Like, who would have thought that you would fly 1,000 miles?
It was just subtle. Like, ever since I was I knew Kay from before, so just ever since I was even looking at the program, it was just like subtle communication back and forth, like, oh, blah, blah, blah. This pandemic's crazy. And I might as well just come out there with y'all and just train. And, for sure, man. Blah, blah, this, that, and the third. And it just worked out perfectly. Stars aligned. So that was pretty much all it was. Solid communication.
Well, great. Well, if there's not any other follow-up questions, we'll let you get moving. I appreciate your time, M.A.
Yes, I appreciate y'all.
We will be right back with Coach B. The policies regarding the court have changed about a dozen times, and so it's every day when I go down to the floor, it's a new setup and a new rule that we got an interpretation that's a little different from the last time. So it's been a challenge, but that's the reason why it hasn't come out yet. Is the Big 12 working group and AD's group who govern the policies of our floor. They will get some new information or some sort of something or another will change, and or an interpretation will change. And so then next thing you know, it's all up in the air. But we should have it all kind of ironed out early next week and can get that to you guys as quickly as possible. I was talking, I was emailing with Jenny a little bit. It looks like we're probably going to be limited to between 10 and 12 media members, all of it up in the 300 level, unfortunately. But we will be able to accommodate you guys for some in-person watching of college basketball. So, like I said, more details to come on that.
Can you guys can hear me as well?
Perfect. Well, we appreciate you joining us. Obviously, just wrapped up our practice for the day and for one more tomorrow, but we will get started here with the media session. Jacob Unruh, finally back, Coach. This guy, I guess he took a vacation or something. I'm not real sure, but Jacob, we'll let you get us started.
I heard something about him having a baby, so I'm gonna let him enjoy that. I've been there. Congratulations, man.
I appreciate it. He's sleeping in the other room right now. And we have electricity left. That's all that matters right now. So.
I'll speak softly. I'll use my inside voice.
Hey, we were talking with Bryce, or I guess you might call him Will too, but he sounds like he rediscovered his love of basketball there. Have you noticed kind of a difference? I mean, I know you're still maybe getting to know him a little bit on the court and stuff, but you've seen him at Ole Miss, and now have you noticed a big difference?
Yeah, I mean, I don't know how many of you guys know. So we recruited Bryce pretty aggressively 2 years ago. So Coach Pastrana, the story goes, Coach Pastrana and I worked together, Stephen F. He doesn't come to Oklahoma State with us. He goes back to Florida. He winds up at Daytona State, and he recruits Bryce to play for him there. He actually told me about Bryce when Bryce was a freshman, and I was in my first year coaching. And then he left to go to Florida Atlantic, and I recruited him. Going into my second year, so I knew Bryce for a while. And knew how talented he was. In fact, I thought he was maybe the best junior college guard in the country in his sophomore year, and obviously really wanted him. And he went to Ole Miss, and he obviously didn't have a great experience there. It's so important that these kids have good experiences, and by virtue of being able to do that, you got to make a good choice. And obviously, he made a choice that wasn't in his best interest, or didn't work out to be in his best interest. And I think he did lose some of his love for the game, his appreciation for the opportunity to play. And I think in his memory is embedded that he was on the bad side of probably our most lopsided win last year on the biggest stage in New York City. So, when he wanted to leave, he actually inquired with us about whether there would still be an opportunity to kind of do it over. And obviously we were in a weird time. The whole timing of everything worked out because, we get the announcement, we have all these guys coming back, and then Hitty and Yor both leaving, and we all of a sudden have a scholarship open. And I'm not sure he really considered anybody else, but I think he felt a connection with us from the first time and saw that our players, when we played against him, played with a sense of joy that he didn't have. And so I've seen him with that joy in the last few weeks of practice. And I think he's going to be a big part of what we do this year.
What kind of role do you envision? Where does he fit?
I have a hard time committing to those kind of questions right now, but just because I don't know. But I like what he does. I said this last week or on. I think he may be our most complete guard.
Okay.
He can really shoot it. He's good off the bounce. He's got a pretty good handle. He's really athletic. He can defend at a pretty high level. He rebounds well, full guard. He doesn't have the size of Cade, and he doesn't have the girth and strength of Ice, but he has a little bit of both of their skill sets. And so I see him being a guy who can provide some strong minutes at both backcourt positions and be another guy who can space the floor playing with both guys as a shot maker.
I think you alluded to with COVID and stuff, it's locking guys in roles can be difficult right now. How concerned are you? You see programs shutting down and canceling games and stuff already.
I don't want to say I'm not concerned at all, but I'm not worried about it. I'll say that. I don't spend a whole lot of time thinking about it. It's so much of the stuff's out of my control. What I do is just kind of every day preach to our guys the importance of doing our part. Right? That's all we can do. We can do the best that we can, and in terms of keeping ourselves with our group in our quote unquote small bubble of 25 people or whatever it is that are around our program every day. Encourage them to. I said this on the interview I think earlier this week. It's kind of antithetical to what we always talk about, right? Adults now talk about how badly kids are in terms of being antisocial. Like kids don't communicate anymore. They don't talk to each other. They're always on their phones. They don't interact with one another. And now we literally are telling them every day to be antisocial. Don't talk to anybody. Don't go out to eat. Don't interact with anybody. Like, be as antisocial as you can be. And it kind of flies in the face of what we always said about this generation of people is, put your phones down and go get to know somebody. And now we're like, don't get to know anybody. You know everyone you need to know already. But that's the challenge that we face. So we just continue to encourage them to try to stick with that. We know it's hard. They're 18, 19 years old. They're social beings by nature. But for the most part, our kids have done a pretty good job of trying to get to the ultimate goal, which is trying to have a chance to compete.
Awesome. Thanks, Mike.
Next question is going to come from Chris Becker. Go for it, Chris.
Give Marshall a few more minutes. He's got to finish whatever that thing is he's eating for lunch.
Hey, Coach, as part of that generation, I feel their pain. I want to talk about MA a little bit. What was that recruitment process like, with him being in Canada?
Yes, I didn't really think about this until about a month ago. Coach Pastrana and I were sitting around, and we were actually on one of the last flights that were able to leave the country here, because we went to see him in like February for a game. And I was like, man, if I hadn't had a chance, because I think that is what closed the deal for him. We went to see his coaches at his school. We met with his mentors and sat down with him after one of his games. But I saw him play the summer before and in December at a different event, I think in South Carolina. His recruitment was, obviously a late one, but it was one that we had a lot of chances to evaluate where he would fit. And quite honestly, we just didn't feel we had anybody quite like him. And still, he's really unique for our roster with his skill set, his athleticism, his size. He's a guy who's going to be a big-time impact guy for us for a long time. But, his recruitment was strong. He was obviously highly touted. He was well sought after by a lot of high-level programs, and we're glad that he's here.
Right, and how have you seen him grow the most in the short time of practice?
Well, he's in much better shape today than he was, even 2 weeks ago. And one of the things that I've been impressed with him about is that he's very coachable. He's a kid who wants to understand how he can maximize his potential. He's got some humility about himself. And when you have those things, as long as we're doing our part, he's got no choice but to improve. He comes in the gym, he spends extra time. He's got a maturity about himself where you don't usually see from freshmen. But I guess, when you leave home and you go to a prep school at 14 years old and you stay there for 3 years, you kind of have no choice but to grow up.
Right, and during the shutdown, he had a chance to go work out in Arlington with Ice and Cade. Obviously we've only got to see it twice with the live streams, but how have you seen, how that has helped them, get that communication down and help them on the court?
Yeah, him and Cade have an unusual chemistry for guys who haven't played a real game together ever. I think they competed together in a couple camps. They both were at the World Championships. MA was there with Canada and Greece, and Cade obviously in the Ice War with the USA team, and so they've gotten to know each other, pretty well over the time, just interacting on the grassroots circuit. But him and Cade have a really good chemistry, and they find each other. They know how to kind of read whether it be lob passes or backdoors or ball screens or things like that. So it's going to enhance our ability to kind of be a step ahead from where we normally would be with two freshmen who coming from two totally different places.
Thank you, Coach.
And Frank Bonner, you are up next. Go ahead, Frank.
Hey, Mike, how's it going?
Doing great, Frank. How are you?
Doing well. Appreciate you. Going back to Bryce, with him basically, refounding his excitement for basketball, what does that look like in practice in terms of the energy he brings and just his ability to buy into the system?
The buy into the system is usually more about, maturing than anything. He's an older kid. He knows that there's certain things that you have to accept, right? Whether it be that you're not going to be able to shoot the ball every time like a high school kid thinks most of the time when he comes in, or that defense is important or things like that. So that part was easy. Getting him to invigorate himself, for lack of a better word, about basketball on a day-to-day basis was a different story. And there was several times we sat down and talked about, hey, where are you, man? Do you really enjoy this? Because this isn't fun. If you don't like basketball, like, why the heck would you do this every day? I mean, come to practice, go lift weights, go to study hall. I mean, there's a lot we ask of these kids. And so if you don't enjoy that thing that's supposed to be the most fun about it, then you seriously should go do something else. And, again, he was disappointed in his experience at his previous school. And I think he's found a new family. He's feel like he's got another opportunity to prove that not only does he like basketball, but that he can be an effective player, a part of a successful team.
I mean, he said that he didn't get into basketball until his freshman year in high school, which is pretty unique for players that reach this level of basketball. What about his skill set do you think allowed him to jump that learning curve so quickly to still be able to be at this level?
I think he played other sports. I know he played football. I think he played some baseball. And so he has an athletic background. And obviously in Florida, football is a pretty dominant sport anyway. But he's got a pretty strong skill set. He's got pretty big hands. He's got a pretty high vertical jump. And so there's some natural athletic things that he can do on a basketball court. It's just a skill that had to catch up. And he's worked really hard to develop a consistent jump shot and a good ability to handle the ball. We got to tighten up on his passing some. He's not a bad passer. He's more naturally a scorer. But those are things that he's been able to enhance as he's played the game now for 7 or 8 years.
How is he with his left hand? He talked about when he first started, he was going to his left with his right hand. How is he now?
He's better. Still not the best thing he does, and I get a little nervous when I start seeing him having to go that direction. But he's a pretty good athlete, so sometimes he can improvise in ways that I never was able to myself.
Thank you, Mike.
Next question is from Marshall Scott, if he's done with the banana.
I confirmed have finished the banana. Based on the practice yesterday, it seemed like some of the freshmen kind of, things have started to slow down a little bit for them. Do you have any examples of good things that you've seen out of that group?
Yeah. Obviously you saw Rondell's kind of quick update. He rolled his ankle in practice on, I guess that would have been Tuesday. And so he was only semi-participating yesterday, and he was back a little bit more today. He's getting better. Nothing major long-term or anything like that. But, like Donovan Williams had his best practice yesterday. And part of it is, I think I said this before, he may be the classic example of kids who struggle as freshmen in college because they have no idea how hard it is to be successful in college. He was able to shoot every ball that he wanted to, even if there were two guys guard him. And no, that's not a knock on his coaches. His team needed him to do that to win. We don't need him to do that to win. But that's the way he understood how to play the game. And so it took a while for him to understand, hey, I got some other really good guys, and if I have two guys on me, I can pass the ball to them. He was trying to shoot over two guys for about 2 months. And his shooting percentage as a result of that is probably the worst on our team. And we're very honest with these guys. We tell them what their numbers are every week. And because he now embraced understanding, hey, man, if Cade and Ice and Bryce are out here driving and penetrating, I don't need to close the space. I can stay, kind of out on the perimeter and let the game come to me a little bit more. So he's probably my best example in the last 2 weeks of that. You see it more from your freshman to sophomore year, which is what I've seen a lot in our sophomores. But Donovan's probably the best example of a freshman. He's also understanding he can impact the game without having the ball all the time, in terms of rebounding, in terms of being effective on the defensive end. So those are things that you've seen from practice 1 to today. We had practice 22.
Another guy, Bernard, seems like almost a completely different person with the ability. He's able to get up and down the floor now. What have you seen from him?
Yeah, he just made a commitment to himself. One of the things I told him is, our game, for better or worse, is a game of cardio. So you can't run up and down the court. You can't play. And, they all want to play. And for him, it may be 2 minutes at a time, but he's got to be able to play as hard as he can for those 2 minutes. And to be able to do that, he's got to be in the best shape possible. He had to change his diet a little bit and really just commit himself to, taking 15 minutes after practice when you're tired and getting on an elliptical, or on the Stairmaster and just continue to build that cardiovascular endurance, which is what he's done, and we're starting to see from him in practice day to day.
It was a tough day yesterday for, I think it was the white team that kind of looks like your starters. Is that good for them to kind of run into those troubles now whenever they can be fixed in practice?
Yeah, I mean, I can't say that I designed the black team to make the shots that they made, but I designed practice to make it challenging for those guys. I don't want the first time for them to see adversity or not get a call go their way is on November 25th. We don't need that, and so right now I'm like public enemy number 1 in practice because I'm the only one with a whistle. And very few times do I use it. And they look at me and I just kind of look the other way. I know they foul sometimes, but I want to prepare them for that time when we go on the road and officials going to miss a call. How do we respond? And it snowballed on them a little bit because then Black also started making every shot that they took. Keelan Boone, and to his credit, right, that wasn't an anomaly. He's had several practices now that he shot the ball well, and that bodes well for us if he's a guy who can stretch the floor because he'll play some 4 for us this year. It gives us a totally different element when we go to small ball.
One thing that Ime mentioned on his visit that he got to talk with Chuba Hubbard. Is that something that you set up on your recruiting pitch? How did that come to be?
Yeah, we actually had Chuba and Eamon visit with him, and Micah Dennis, who's on the women's basketball team. And so, you do everything you can when you're trying to get a kid. Kid was coming from Toronto. And anytime you have an opportunity to connect kids with one another and talk about shared experiences, those guys really, really helped.
Gotcha. And then the last thing I've written down here, Montreal wasn't practicing yesterday. Is that an injury?
Yeah, he's dealing with some personal issues, some of it injuries, some of it other non-injury. But he's been around. He's dealing with some things that we got to get cleaned up for.
Gotcha. Thanks, Coach.
The next question from Jimmy Gillespie.
Hey, Coach. How's it going?
I'm doing well. Yourself?
Good. Hey, speaking of MA, just talking to him about, playing as a freshman coming and playing defense. How have you seen his defense improve since he's come here as a big man?
He's got a long way to go, but he's already come a long way. I think that's where the language barrier came in, and I didn't know there was a language barrier from Canada. But when I started talking about defense to this kid when he first got here, you would think that he did not speak English anymore. So he understands now that defense is a part of the game. It's actually a real thing. And that if he doesn't try to play some of it, that he won't play very much for us. And so I'm proud of him because he as much as he didn't know, he was willing to learn, and he listens, and he's still got, like I said, he's still got a long way to go. He's, deflections, for example, I'll give you a great example. he should be one of the best guys that we have on our teams in terms of deflections. He went 10 straight practices without getting a deflection, which is almost impossible because literally it doesn't matter. Like you can get a deflection by accident. Someone throws the ball off of your foot. You deflected it, went out of bounds, whatever it is. He didn't have 10 days, 10 straight practices. And how engaged defensive side of, but he's got to understand that if he can get more active and more engaged defensively, it'll make the game easier for him on offense because we can get out and transition more where he's his best. And so I'm proud of him for trying, but if I were grading him now, he wouldn't get high marks, but I think we're actually speaking the same language now.
Okay. And on that is, I mean, with his height and his length, is there some hope for like potential for him to be a good defender for you?
Oh, no question. He's got all the physical tools. It's not an ability problem at all. It's the first, kind of like you got to admit that there's a problem first before you can fix it. And if you don't even identify that, the word defense exists, even though it was written on the butt of his shorts for a while, it didn't make sense. He was trying to figure out why that was on his shorts. Instead of dunk, I guess, right? But he does have some good long-term potential because he's got a unique combination of size, length, strength, and athleticism. And now it's just the will and understanding of the concepts and the schemes that he's got to get caught up on.
And on that same note, you talk about defensive rebounding is something you need this team to do better at. How's he done with that?
Much better. And I'll say this, I'll pat him on the back. So after that, we had 5 practices since then, and he's up to 9 deflections in the last 5 practices. So he's listening. You're starting to see it translate a little bit in terms of his defensive engagement. But he's one of our best rebounders. And that's one of the things that he does do really well on the end. We got to get him more committed to going to the offensive glass. And once we do that, then he should be 1 or 2 in terms of rebounding for us.
All right. Thanks, Coach.
No problem.
Next question from Ginny Carlson. Go ahead, Ginny.
I know they know about defense in Toronto, Mike. The Raptors had that Kawhi Leonard guy. He knew a thing or two about it.
Yeah. I don't think MA was paying attention to him other than when he was shooting.
Fair enough. Hey, I wanted to ask you one off the court question and then one on the court question. You got selected as an at-large member of the presidential selection committee there on campus. Can you just talk a little bit about the decision to do that and what that means for you to be a part of that group?
Oh, man. I think it shows maybe how far I have come, maybe a little bit, right? I went from kind of a who is this guy, maybe even to some of the other people on that committee, right? When I was hired to now, I'm not sure there's anything more important for a university than the actual leader of the whole institution. So I feel honored and humbled that I would be asked. I hope it's an indication that they believe that I care about the mission of the university and about the university as a whole, not just the athletic department and basketball program. And so I'm thankful that they would ask. It was a challenging decision, to be honest, to make because of the timing of this search. It's obviously going to fall here right in the middle of our season and have to be finished before June when President Hargis officially leaves office. But it wasn't something that is important of a decision. If someone asked and thought that I was worthy of being a part of it, I couldn't pass up. I don't know how much influence I'm going to have over this thing. I don't know what my role is going to be, but I was certainly honored that I was asked and I look forward to serve as a member of the board.
I know it's still relatively fresh, but have you gotten a sense of just how much work is going to be involved, or like, is that still kind of a to be determined?
Yeah, I don't know. It's actually will be the first time I've ever been a part of any sort of search, and it's obviously a really important one. I wish I had some experience. I wish I had sat on the committee to pick I don't know, the vice chair of the Boy Scouts or something at some point in my life, but I did not. And so I'm going to be learning, kind of trial by fire. That's why I don't think I'm going to be in a room when the decision is made. I don't think so. I'm going to be asked to leave, and that's fine with me. But I'm sure there'll be some meetings, maybe some via Zoom, that I'll be able to participate in and just offer some feedback and perspective.
My on the court question, we were hearing from the guys a little bit about, and you've referenced this to, energy and practice and those sorts of things. I mean, this is obviously, they're very excited to be together and excited to have them there. But to create that energy, I think MA was saying that's probably as big a deal as anything that you guys talk about in practice. Is that, I mean, I know that's important regardless, but considering that you're going to play in a lot of arenas this year, that there might not be anybody or a very limited amount of fans. Is that something that you've been mindful to these guys to really try to work on in practice?
Absolutely. It's still a little bit of a concern of mine, partly because, and we talk about all the time with attendance at different places, right? The better the environment in the building is, most of the time, the more engaged the guys are. Whether it be home or road or whatever it is. And so this year, I have no doubt we're going to play a game at a place, I don't know where there won't be any fans. I don't know when or where or how that's going to happen. And so how do we still have to play with the same level of focus and energy, and we can't then rely on the crowd to pick us up. And so we've tried every day to harp on communication and guys picking each other up. And, I don't know if you heard or watched yesterday, but, everyone that's in practice needs to bring that energy, from our players to our coaches to our, whatever managers we have there, scholarship, walk-on, it doesn't matter, because we have to train ourselves to be ready to do that for 40 minutes every time we step on the court.
The fact that you aren't going to or it's unlikely that this team has that packed atmosphere that they play in front of maybe ever this season. It's such a unique and exciting collection of talent. Is there just a level of disappointment that they won't, as a group, get to experience that? Or on the flip side, that fans won't get to, experience this group maybe in the way that they would have otherwise?
Yeah, I'm more disappointed, to be quite honest, for our fans. We spent 3 years trying to build this program to a place where they, the demand for people wanting to come in Gallagher would be at its highest. And I think we accomplished that. But now, right, the supply isn't there. And quite honestly, it's a frustrating thing for me. But again, I know why we're doing it, to protect them and to protect us so we can continue to play. But there's no doubt there's a bittersweet feeling to going into the season with all this excitement, and then knowing that we have a chance to, I don't know what the number would be, but I would imagine if we were able to have 13, 6, 11 in here, we get as close this year on a consistent basis as we have in my entire time here. So that's disappointing for our fans and for our guys, because that's part of the reason they wanted to come here. They wanted to be a part of reviving the energy, the life in that building every single night. But, we're not dealing with anything that's unique to us. This is everyone's doing. Saw where Duke, right, maybe not have any fans or something like that, which is, it's the same thing there. And Kansas maybe down to 10% capacity. So everyone's dealing with the same thing, which kind of eases the pain a little bit.
Thanks, Mike.
No problem.
Danielle Dwyer, you are up. Go for it, Danielle.
Hey, Coach. Good to see you again.
Yep, good to see you.
We're about 2 weeks out from your first game, and given just everything that this offseason's been and everything the season's starting to become, when you look at just where you are pacing-wise versus years past, are you where you thought you would be? Are you not there? Is it hard to assess just because this offseason has been so different?
So I want to be clear. So you're saying where I want to be for the program or for this team?
I would say what you're used to seeing from your team for the program, as far as like where you would normally be this time of year,
Gotcha.
2 weeks out from that first game.
Yeah, that's the hard part for me, Danielle, to be honest. I don't know. This is so different. So when you're used to a certain routine, we would bring our guys in basically the 1st of June. We'd have them here for 8 weeks, and we knew where they should be after 8 weeks. They'd go home for a couple of weeks. They'd come back, the 2nd week in August, and we get through from August to October, and we knew exactly where they should be in October before we started practice. And then you knew where you'd be November 1st before you played your first game. And the whole calendar being basically upside down makes it hard to evaluate. I don't know where we'd be because the circumstances are brand new. I also know that what I read every day about other programs may not even be practicing here in the last 2 weeks or the next 2 weeks. So it's really relative, right? If being in shape is relative to the competition at this point. So if we're going to play somebody who hasn't practiced for 10 days, we're probably, even if we're not in great shape, going to be in better shape than they are. And the same thing, if we somehow get shut down at some point or have to pause for a while, we're not going to be as in good shape as somebody who didn't have that heading into a game. So I think a lot of that is just going to just be, we just got to figure out as we go. I really don't have a great answer. And what I try to do is focus on what we have today in front of us, try to be our best and manage. We're just trying to manage and give these kids an opportunity to have fun and compete as much as possible.
And when you look at it's such a young group. When you're looking at the team specifically, is there any areas that maybe they've excelled in or grown in faster than you might have expected this group to, with being so young?
Yeah, and this may be a little bit of a confirmation bias on my part. I always believed that you have to coach defense and that offense is more relative to your talent. And we're way ahead offensively this year because we have way more depth of talent. We're also not nearly as good defensively at this point as we usually are. And that's been hard for me as a coach who prides himself, because that's who I had to be as a player and always coached that way, to accept that our defense is going to have to catch up here. And our offense is ahead right now. Again, you saw yesterday, if you watched, and Marshall was mentioning earlier, we had our, I don't know if I have a starting lineup, but we have several guys on that white team yesterday who are in contention to start, and they couldn't get a stop for a whole drill. They lost the drill 29-0. So, it's good that it happened yesterday and not 12 days from now, but it's not good. And Keelan Boone, made about 7 shots in a row, and we never changed. We never responded. We never made him dribble the ball. So it's a little bit of a unnerving part of me as I coach these guys every day, getting them to buy into the defensive side. But on the flip side, our offense is way, way ahead of where we usually are at this point. And
you mentioned last week how Ice is the clear leader of this team. But when you look at the older guys like Farron and Bryce or Will, when you look at that, is there kind of a balance of leadership? I know you mentioned how Ice is kind of the clear leader, but then you also think, senior leadership or, the older guys, even though they're not in this program, they're new to the program. Is there some of that balance of leadership there with them? Or I guess, what is the leadership kind of like?
Yeah, not right now. I'll be honest. And I've said this before, leadership is not about an age or classification. All right. I tell these guys all the time, first of all, you're only a leader if someone follows you. So that's the number one requirement for being a leader. It doesn't matter how old you are. If no one follows you, it doesn't matter. You're not a leader. And Ice is someone who has the pulse of our team. And guys respond, sometimes reluctantly, but they respond to him. Those other guys, they have leadership abilities. They don't know the whole group as well. And they don't know me and my expectations as well yet. So even though they probably want to try to lead and they can help in some areas based off their experience, they're not in position to really lead yet. In fact, I would say our second strongest leader right now would be Chris Harris, partly because he's got some experience with our program and people respond to him. So Ice is the leader for sure.
Thanks, Coach.
We might have time for one more follow-up if anyone has one. Marshall, Scott, go for it.
Yeah, just kind of a X's and O's question. The last 3 years you've ran a similar kind of base offense to what Brad ran. With the talent that you have on this team, do you switch that up? Is there more isolation, more ball screens? Do you switch that up at all?
Yeah, so we've shelved that offense for now. It's something I know well that I could come back to. I know the strengths and weaknesses of it. If I think we need it at some point, I may turn to it. You know, this year you got to have everything available to you. You never know. Foul trouble, injury, ever. But this team is built differently, and we have much more playmaking ability than we did before. And so it would be probably very poor coaching if I used that offense for this team. Let's put it that way.
Is that something that's exciting? Is it a little terrifying going into the year with the thing?
I always and I like the offense. Obviously, it's an offense that has a lot of really good pieces, but it's more of it's a little bit more predictable, I guess, in some ways, and it plays to the strengths of less playmaking, right? Guys just truly making reads and making shots. And when you got guys like Lindy, Thomas, and Cam, that offense is good because you know how to get shots for them. Now we got guys who don't need people to get shots for them. Kay doesn't need me to run a specific offense to help him figure out how to get a shot. And neither does Ice, and really neither does Bryce or Avery. They're all really good off the dribble. And so to take that playmaking ability away from them would be a little bit of a poor tactic, X and O's wise on my part. Whereas Thomas wasn't really good in ball screens, right? I needed him spotting up in the corner and throwing arrows when he makes them, right? And when he was open, I needed him to shoot it and not dribble. And I said this, right? When he dribbled, there was always bad things that happened. I like my 50-50 chance of him making threes as opposed to the time he's going to kick the ball out of bounds, trying to drive in there and shoot a layup.
He's doing okay. He's doing okay in Lithuania.
He's doing the same thing. I talked to him this morning. He's doing the same thing that I asked him to do while he was here. Just stand in the corner and make open shots.
All right. Thanks, Mike.
Jenny had a follow-up. Go for it, Jenny.
Yeah. Hey, I was going to ask you, Mike, about the selection committee thing. You've been on multiple campuses now, both as an athlete, as a coach. Is there something that, I know that you guys will have different parameters that you'll be looking at for the next president there, but are there things that over your years you feel like you've learned really make effective campus leaders that you might be mindful of?
Yeah, I think one of the best presidents that I was around was a guy named Harris Pastides. He was a president at the University of South Carolina when I worked there. He wasn't the president when I went to school there. And I got to know him. He's actually from New York, and we had a connection. Obviously, we sometimes would take recruits to meet with the president, and so we had a relationship. And one of the things I always admired about him is that he was a part of the campus, and the students really felt that he was an advocate for them. And I think ultimately as leaders, that's our job. Again, I don't think I get to set the criteria, but that's something that I think should be really important in a way that you can be really effective. This is a servant leadership deal, whether it's coaching, being an athletic director, being a president of a university. Our job is to create an atmosphere to have these young people have a great experience and then put them out in the world where they're ready to go become the next great leaders. So those are some of the things that I think about.
And you've probably been asked this. I wasn't on the call last week, but Burns announcing his retirement. You've been around him now a few years. What's just been your impression of his impact on the campus at large and then what you guys do on a daily basis there in athletics?
Yeah, so I probably can't speak to the entirety. All right, I've only been here the last 4 years,
Right.
but his willingness to do what I was just speaking of, be a part of the campus, to speak to the needs of the kids here, to understand that athletics is an asset to the university, and in many ways being super supportive of the athletic department is a way that I think he really endeared himself. Probably helped him with a lot of our alumni and donors, and obviously him being a Cowboy himself was something that helped drive his passion for making this place a better place than when he got here.
Thanks, Mike.
No problem.
Well, thank you everyone for joining us today, and thanks, Coach, for hopping on for a few minutes. I appreciate your time, and like I said, next week we'll have probably a good scheduling announcement to wrap up non-con scheduling, and then get you guys all of the media policies we'll have this year. Appreciate everyone.
Thank you, guys. I appreciate it. Have a great weekend. Watch some golf. I'm not sure there's much football to see this weekend.
Thanks, guys.
Bye.
Thanks.